Hello friends, welcome to the Workbench at Nerd. Today we're going to have a little lesson on adjusting the pivot pins on the Avenger DA45 skate plates. Now, what you have on your Avenger plates, you've got your kingpin right here, your truck here, your cushions, your cushion caps, and that's what we got. So what your Avenger plates have is what's known as an adjustable pivot pin. So if we look at our truck, this right here is the pivot pin, and if you could see what that looks like, it looks like so. So what we have is we have this 3/8 inch here, and this is on the pivot pin which is threaded, and then this is just a 1/2 inch lock nut. So ideally, when you go to put everything together and you put your trucks onto your plates, you want to have this little ball joint here fitting into the socket of the pivot cup, which is right there. So ideally what should happen is this should bottom out nicely in there so that when you're skating and you're leaning into your turns, this is just kind of rotating like that and then being taken up by compression of the cushions in there. So that's what lets you get into your edges. So to exaggerate what is happening on your pivot pins there is that they haven't been adjusted. So that means that this is kind of floating in space instead of sitting right into its socket. So it's kind of bouncing up and down like that when you push on it, which is making things feel really unstable. So the way we adjust this, first we test and see if things are set up the way we want them. So we would tighten up this kingpin to where we want it, and I usually test that by pressing down with my fingers here, and if I can make this move at all, then I know I've got too much looseness in my kingpin. Now if this is over tightened, you'll actually see these cushions kind of bubbling out and making a bit of a bulge there, and that's way tightened up, and we don't want to have that happen. We just want to have everything sandwiched together so it's mechanically sound. Now to test the pivots, what we do is push down on here, and if I'm going like this and I can see a wobble there, I know I'm not bottomed out into my pivot cup. So what I would do, get onto here with my 3/8 inch wrench and thread this out of the truck so that it bottoms out into that pivot cup. And you'll feel when you get close, it kind of seems to settle into place, and then test it again. So just push down on that. See, I'm still getting a little smidge of movement, so I'm going to give it a little bit more here. And when I've got that to where that's nice and stable and it's feeling good, I grasp onto my pivot pin with my 3/8 inch wrench, and then I get my 1/2 inch wrench in there and I push it opposite just to make sure that that's locked against the truck there. So that's going to hold that stable and it's not just going to unwind itself. Now another thing that can happen is you can adjust them too far out. So if I keep on going and push and push and push and take this all the way out really far, it is possible to put this too far out. And what you will notice is that it will start to tip this truck this way. And if you can see that happening, right now I can see this top cushion is really compressed, and I can also see that this cushion cup is running into my truck there because this is being pushed this way now from the pivot. So what that does is puts a tremendous amount of pressure on your trucks from your pivots, and when people get broken trucks on Avenger plates, that's usually the reason why. So we want to make sure that we haven't over tightened this, but that it's just sitting in its socket and that we've secured it with the lock nut, and you should be good to go from there. All right, thanks for listening.